plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second-place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terror Boys over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
Welcome in, everybody. Oh, Jay-Z looks like might have a problem. Welcome to Turn 2 Terribles podcast. We have two special guests tonight. We have Michael Walter and Aaron Bollinger going to be coming on then. Just Jay-Z and I tonight. Jimmy's taking care of some personal stuff. If you guys haven't seen, his dad passed away last week. So our thoughts are with Jimmy and his family. Jim Barr was a really nice guy. Met him a handful of times. True gentleman. So our thoughts are with Jimmy and the rest of his family, and looking to have a good show tonight. Jeremy, what do you think? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to be here. Definitely thoughts with Jimmy and his family. It's always tough when a family member and someone close. And I was telling some people today, I got to meet Jim this past summer at Port Royal for the first time, and just a good dude. And Super was thrilled to be there, and like a big fan of the little bit of photography stuff I was doing, and just having a great time at the track. So definitely tough deal, and we'll missing Jimmy tonight, but he's taking care of some things. We'll look forward to having him back soon.
Yeah, one quick story about Jim. He was never a good meteorologist. I remember the Hot Net Classic last summer. He told us there was no way it was raining. The clouds were missing, and it rained a lot. We had to use chairs and everything to still get wet. So good memories there, and I hope tonight we have a really good show. I think there's gonna be a lot of cool stories with Michael. A lot of interesting stuff. Talk about Speed Weeks and his season and kind of what's going on. And we'll go to Aaron Bollinger second half of the show. So Jay-Z, if you're ready, I'll bring Michael out.
Let's go, man. Let's get it started.
Welcome, Michael. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, man. Welcome to the show. We're just out there sharing this thing out a little bit. We're a little behind on the tech side of this thing, but get some viewers out here and try and keep growing the show a little bit. So we appreciate you being on the show and, kind of reaching out a little bit. And I saw you were just actually on something very recently. Tell me about that. You were something with the EMMR, correct?
The Eastern Motorsports Museum. You were there yesterday, correct?
Yep. I was down there for the round table first of the year. Had me, Dylan Norris, and I believe Kevin Gutshaw, a 358 driver.
Yeah, like some of the sharpest race cars I've seen between yourself and Gutshaw. Wait, I thought it was maybe I got the wrong guy. No, I think I got Chase or Kevin.
Kevin.
So he sportsman or was he wingless?
And he moved up to 358s this year, and I think he ran a couple shows last year. He actually has a pretty nice looking car. It's red number one.
For sure. So I'm going to get started here because we were talking pre-show a little bit. I know a little bit. I know as a fan of the sport, I grew up around this. And like I know the family name, I know a little bit, but not a lot. So fill me a little bit about where kind of your family background in Central PA and kind of where you got your start and where you're at today.
Well, I guess it all starts back with my grandfather raced back in the 50s and 60s. And it kind of the anchor of our family going forward with racing wise. And my father and uncle started racing back in the – your camera's so slow. I'm still seeing your hands moving while I'm talking. But my father and uncle started racing back in the probably early 80s, and I've been racing sprint cars ever since. And it was just a stepping stone for me to help me. That was the direction I was always meant to go.
So where was your start? What division, what class, what age did you kind of get started driving?
Well, somewhere at my dad's house, there's a picture of me driving a go-kart when I was like 3 years old. My helmet's like falling down. My hands are little tiny things on the steering wheel. But we raced. We never took anything ever like serious. Because my dad was always racing Friday and Saturday nights, so it was hard to get to the racetrack when I was little. So when he went to one night a week, it was we did a little bit more go-kart racing. And then when I was about 10 years old, I started racing 270 micros, and that was Saturday nights. And my dad ran Sealands Road Saturdays. So my grandfather actually took me for about 2 years, 3 years. We ran micros, and my grandfather took me every weekend, and it was just me and him. So those are good memories. That my grandfather since passed away, so I'm always going to have those memories as a young teenager, riding with your paps to the races, and it's just you and him. So, but I think when I was 13, 2008, I was 13 years old, and my dad had this harebrained idea that we're going to take both cars to the racetrack, and he didn't tell me till we were loading the cars up that, hey, get your fire suit and helmet, you're racing tonight. And what? And now it's crazy because I see a 13-year-old kid, and I'm like, Dad, what were you thinking, man? Like, what was going through your head when you were looking at 13-year-old me, and you're like, hey, you're going to drive my 358 tonight at Clinton County. So I ran 2 weekends at the end of that year. It was after Sealands Grove was over, and Clinton had a couple races left. And I ran like 15th the first night, and then the second night I was around the same position, and I smashed it. I clipped another car, tore my left front off, and drove straight into the Jersey barrier. So that was the end of my 13-year-old first time in a race car weekend.
So that gets you a little bit closer to today, not quite, but how long were you in 358s before you got into a 410?
That was those are my two only 358 races. So I ran 410s the following year at Clinton County for a whole season. I was 14, and I started when I was 15 years old. I was a freshman in high school, and I ran probably 7 or 8 shows. And I'm at Port Royal that year, and we lied and said I was 16 to run. And I actually tore it up probably 6 of the 7 times I ran. There's some good pictures of me like hitting the catch fence upside down at Port Royal that season. But after that, we kind of took a couple years off. I was a high school athlete. I played sports summer, fall, winter, and I didn't have time for racing, and I always had aspirations of playing college football. But I got banged up a little too much, and doing that sort of stuff was out of the picture anymore. So after high school, my dad was running 360s at Sealands Grove, and we had some leftover stuff that we were able to put a car together and one of the old motors. And I ran 360s for several years. We never took it serious. It was always like this hobby. We always did it because that's what we always did. We bounced around to a lot of different racetracks, and we had fun. It was like my brother was a big part of it. It was just my dad, me, my brother, and then every year we'd have a guy here and there come and go. Our families and lives, so it's hard to keep some good help around. But it was just like the 3 of us, and it was a lot of fun. We traveled. I didn't run 410s much. I always ran 360s. So we'd throw the 410 in and go to Eldora just to do it. And I would be like sick to my stomach, and everybody else is like having a good time. And it was like the longest 8 hours of my life riding out to Mansfield, Ohio, or Eldora in a 410. And I didn't race 410s. I'm like, what are we doing? But everybody else had a good time. Another good friend of mine, he would go with us. He blew his knee out one summer, so every time we hit the road, he was in the truck with us. And it'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning. We're at a car wash, and he'd be hobbling around, throwing shit at you. And we always just had a good time on the road. But we never took it serious until like a couple of years ago. 2 years ago, we sat down and we were like, we're gonna have to spend money. We can't just keep doing this on a shoestring budget. We decided to go 410 racing with we started that year off with a 2005 Mach 1. It was the original Mach 1, first one ever built. And it was my dad's old car from 360s back in the day, but it was the only 40-inch car we had. We run 360s, ran 39-inch cars, and putting a 410 in a 39-inch car is just asking for trouble. So we had a couple good weeks here and there, but like halfway through the season, I was like a middle of the pack back marker. I was just struggling. It's a hard jump going from 360s to 410s. Just a same car, same everything. It's just the driving. You got to drive it so differently because of the weight and the horsepower. We struggled. I think I had to run the B main, and I came in. We made a show, but I'm starting like 22nd, 23rd. And some random guy shows up in my pit, and him and my dad are talking in the trailer. And he comes out, and I think we changed 3 out of the 4 torsion bars. We changed all 4 shocks. He moved my wing around. He changed the nozzles. And I'm like, I walked up to my dad. I pulled him aside. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is crazy. I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to be a bucket of shit. I'm going to get to the end of the front stretch, and it won't even turn. Like, it's crazy. This guy was a mad scientist. So we go out for the feature, and I have my doubts and my questions, and I end up going from like 22nd, 23rd to like 10th, and I'm driving through the middle in the slick. Could never do that before. My baby's screaming right now, so. But I was driving through the slick, and I came in, and we have the GoPro on that night. It's real funny. I like to watch it once in a while. But my dad comes up, and he like slaps me on the shoulder, like, good job, bud. And I look at him. I said, pay that guy whatever he wants. I was like, sell the house. That guy needs to be in our pit every week. And we did. We worked out a pretty sweet deal with Rob Peters, and we got him a part of our race team. And that has been leaps and bounds in my racing ability alone. The confidence level that I have now that I didn't have back then is due a lot in part to what Rob can do with the race car, and able to put me in a solid piece every week. Something I'm real confident in at the end of the straightaway.
So, and I love hearing some of those kind of stories when we start these, because it gets my brain going about things I've witnessed and observed, and then things, that are relevant. So when did the Rob Peters connection start? What year?
2020. Halfway through 2020, I think. We have 2 full seasons under our belts, I believe, with each other. Maybe 2021. I don't know. It runs together. 2020
was your COVID year, right? So we kind of raced. So if it was that season. So between 2021 and 22, what were your race counts the last couple of years?
I run 30 shows a year.
Okay.
We have 2 motors now. For a long time we'd have one. We'd race 10 shows. We'd get it rebuilt. And during the COVID year, that was hard because we'd be out for a month, and then you'd lose like a whole month of racing and hop back in, and it sets you back so far because all these guys are running 10, 12 shows a month, and you're getting 4 in. It's just some of these younger kids are putting a lot of shows in. And I might be 27 years old, but there's guys that are 20, 21 years old that have raced 410s twice as much as I have. So
that's kind of what I was going to ask. I mean, like, I've seen you race and I've seen you out there, but it's sporadic. It feels like I'd see you a couple weeks and maybe you don't for a couple weeks. And, life is important, and life is obviously number one. But with kind of the full seasons under your belt, I don't know if you've had a full season yet, right? So is that sort of the plan to kind of grow to that, where you can run 40 or 50 races in a season? Is that sort of like the trajectory where you want to go?
I'd love to. That's what the guys that run Friday nights and Saturday nights, you can tell, because they just have so many more races. By the end of the year, they're seasoned vets. We have 2 brand new motors. We have a stable of cars now. We've really, in the last 2 years, we put some time and money into this program to get it where it is. But we we just need another motor. I mean, everybody needs another motor, but
Sure.
to go 2 nights a week, you're going to need 3 or 4 motors, and that's what we're really looking forward. If we'd have a sponsor come on board with another motor, or put us in a position that we can afford another motor, and they can help us with the week-to-week stuff, that would put me on the racetrack Friday nights at the Grove, or like the Sunday and Thursday shows at Baps, and we would love to do that stuff, but it's me and my dad, my brother, and Rob right now, and we got 2 young kids that they're my age, but two younger guys that came on board with the program. It's just hard to get to the racetrack weekly with the financials. So we're struggling like a lot of the middle class guys are in the racing world, but I think we wring every ounce of water out of the towel that we have.
And I think, we talk about budget guys, and the first few episodes that we've done have been a lot of Lincoln guys. I spent a lot of time in Lincoln, and we talked about budget guys in Lincoln. And I feel like, from the outside looking in, I think guys can get a lot out of a little at Lincoln more than you could at Port Royal. It's big track, it's high speed, it can be harder on equipment, especially when you crash harder. If that happens, not that it doesn't at Lincoln, I'm not, but there are differences in my opinion. So, like, is Port Royal something you want to do? And that's where I know you mostly from. Is that something you guys do because of the location? That's just where you like to go? Is there something that would keep you away from going to Lincoln, or is it just sort of comfort level?
I really like my race cars the way they are. I love watching races at Lincoln. It's a really exciting place to go watch a race. I just don't I don't like tearing up race cars, and that seems to be the cards that are dealt down there for some people. At Port Royal, I think we got in 2 incidents all year at Port Royal. You get spread out a little bit more. There's a lot more breathing room. The speeds are higher, and you're up on the wall. But when you run week in and week out there, you're pretty comfortable where you're at and around the people you're around. But if anything, I'd probably go to the Grove on Friday nights. I've got some laps there, and that's more our wheelhouse. Rob Peters he's got a lot of good nights there as a 410 mechanic, and I have faith in him that he could put me up front there too.
So if you have the 2 motors and you have a couple cars, even if you don't get to Williams Grove a lot, do you have anything in the plan for 23 to get there at least a time or 2? Or is it, hey, 3rd motor, before we step foot at Williams Grove, it's 3rd motor?
Yeah, we would need another motor if we're going to go. We run Sealands Grove because that's where I'm from, and I got a lot of laps in there, and hopefully we talk about some Sealands Grove shows later in the race or later in the podcast. But I try to get in there as much as I can. A lot of my sponsors are local here, so I do that for them. But Port Royal is just I was dealt one hell of a hand when I grew up in central Pennsylvania, and I got racetracks like this around me. So it's 40 minutes from my house. It's one of the best tracks in the country. It fits my racing style very well. Going there week in and week out. So we would need a boost in our program if you're going to get me to a lot more races like Friday and Thursday nights.
Yeah, and that seems to be a common thing for, guys around here, is really like what it takes to be competitive in a 410 week to week in Central PA is sponsors, equipment, and money, right?
Oh.
Because you can get a lot out of what you got, but at the end of the day, what you got it has a shelf life and it has an expiration dates, sometimes predictable, sometimes not. So definitely is number one important. So I do want to talk about Sealands Grove a little bit, and tell me I would imagine this race for you, the Speed Week race, right, is the one we're going to talk about. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't watch this race. Maybe I'm not familiar. So, I know Chris and you talked a little bit here before, but during the last week or two, I want to hear the story. So, tell me a little bit about that day, that race, and what stands out in your memory.
Well, we actually had a pretty piss poor Speed Week from the get go. We show up at Port Royal for our first. We run Port Royal, Sealands Grove Speed Week shows. We like I said, we don't venture too far with what we have, and we were having issues all week, and we ran I think the first Port Royal show and had issues, and Hagerstown was coming up a couple days later, so we went to Hagerstown, and we kept having issues. And we did okay at Hagerstown. I never seen the place, but we were just trying to really find a problem that we were having because we knew that we were going to run well at Port Royal and Selinsgrove, and we wanted to figure out what was going on with the car. Still having the same issue. We go back to Port Royal, have no idea what's going on. We're beating our heads against the wall. The car is has a mind of its own. It's doing funky stuff. And I come in, and the way I'm telling them what's going on, they're looking at me like I'm crazy. It's like you must have forgotten how to drive. And you have this issue, and you're looking for this blatant, obvious problem. Like you're digging into everything, tearing every little piece apart, trying to find out something has to be wrong. And lo and behold, we're cleaning the car after Thursday, or after the Port Royal show at the end of the week. And here our front tube motor mount bolts both had vibrated out. And so the front of the motor was just hanging there, wasn't connected. And we all kind of looked at ourselves like, and that's more on me. I'm kind of the wash guy, and my brother and me, we get the car around for the races. It's nothing to do with Rob Peters. He's like at the track guy. He builds the race cars. He gets them to me, and then he's a setup guy for track. But my brother and I just missed it. No blame on him because we're looking for this blatant, obvious problem. So we put bolts in the front of the motor plate, and we go to Selinsgrove, and if I timed bad at any racetrack, it'd be Selinsgrove, and I have the most laps there ever. I time trial like that there. And we start back of our heat race. I passed like 2 or 3 cars, came up through to third or fourth in the heat. And speedway shows they're packed. You had Brent Marks there, Justin Peck, Rico is there, Danny Dietrich, Macri. Macri wasn't there, actually. I don't want to say I beat him, and I didn't because he wasn't there.
That's right.
Hey, the record books, you finished ahead of him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he wasn't there, so I beat him. But so we were starting 11th. Guys that started in front of me: Luke Wolf, Chase Dietz, Devin Borden, Dylan Cisney, Rico Abreu, Brent Marks, Danny Dietrich. A lot of there's no slouches there. All feature wins. All good race car drivers. So every time you're racing sprint cars in Central Pennsylvania, you're looking at a laundry list of ranked drivers in the country that are lining up ahead of you. So you always got to be confident in your abilities, confident in yourself to get these guys and know that you're on a level playing field with them. And I always feel better about my driving ability at Selinsgrove. I feel like I can go there with a subpar car, and with the amount of laps that I have there, I can get it to the front or move forward at least. And the race started, and I think I picked off Chase and Lucas on the first lap or two. It put me up to 8th, and ninth. It put me up to 9th. And son of a bitch, you guys still see me there? Man.
Yeah.
Okay, good. My screen keeps going away. So it put me up to 9th, and just a long green flag run. I wasn't really tracking anybody down. I'm staring at Dylan Cisney for laps, and he's running the fence, running a good race, and I can't catch him. So I think Steve Buckwalter was another kart starter in front of me, and he blew up, I believe, and that brought the yellow out and bunched us back up with like maybe 12 laps to go. 35 lap race, I believe, and 30 lap race. And on the start, I had a bad start, and Dylan and Borden got back away from me. But I had before the yellow came out, those couple laps, I really found a groove on the bottom that nobody was running. I could get in there real well through the hole in 3 and run around tight against the inside guardrail and catch some moisture coming off. So I tracked Dylan and Borden back down, and I picked them off in consecutive laps, like back to back. I got by Dylan on the front stretch, and I think I got by Borden going into 3 and 4. And after that, you're staring. I'm sitting there staring at Rico Obro. I'm just I'm not a middle of the pack guy, but I'm not. I get a couple podiums, but I'm not winning races right now. I think that's in the card. But so you're staring at Rico Abro, and you're like, maybe I'm doing something tonight. Maybe this is we're running a good race. And you try to keep your cool. You calm down in the seat, and I'm gaining on him, and every time I'm thinking like, oh, he must have made a mistake. I caught him because he made a mistake, and I kept gaining on him, and now I'm on his back bumper, and now I'm thinking, now I got to make a decision, because if he sees me down here, he's coming. He's you only get one shot at this. He's closing the door if you show him your nose wing. So I waited a couple laps back there, just biding my time, and he hit the middle going into 1 and 2, and I thought, here's my shot. So I drove in real hard, and I got up beside him coming off of 2, and I couldn't close the door on him. He got back by me, and he tried to get down to the bottom in 3 and 4, and he missed it. So if you're running the top like that every lap, and you go to hit the bottom, it's pretty hard not knowing what's down there and how to enter. And he missed it and slid up, and it gave me an opening to get by him. And I thought, here it is. Like, I got up beside him going down the front stretch. I ran a good turn through 1 and 2, and I cleared him on the back stretch. And I kind of swooped down on the back stretch, came back up, trying to take command of the straightaway. I didn't want him driving in under me or above me. And I went back to the bottom of 3 and 4, and I nudged the inside guardrail. I entered too soon, and I thought, okay, calm down, you got this. We're going down the front stretch, and I all but entered the flag stand, drove straight into the inside guardrail, entered 1. So that was a colossal mistake. And sure enough, a driver like Rico's caliber, he capitalized, drove right back by, and he put some ground on me. And I thought to myself, like, that was it. You screwed up. But I got back into my rhythm, got back on the bottom, running consistent laps, and I was able to pick him off like 2 laps later, and I drove away from him. And then I came up on Peck's back bumper, and you're in the same situation again. You're like, now I got to pass Justin Peck. And you're racing hard with these guys like this. I wasn't paying attention to laps. I wasn't watching the flag stand. I'm just hitting my marks, trying to get these guys. And I get to Justin Peck, and I'm coming off of 4, decide what I'm going to do to go into 1 and 2, because I think I got him. And I look up, and there's a checkered flag. Oh. So if I'd had 5 more laps, I think I could have got him. My times were a lot better than his at the end of the race. But that's the way it was dealt. 30 laps is all we got.
So in a race like that, do you ever feel like you wish it was 100 laps, or you could just do that for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Is that one of those deals where, like, you got something figured out, nobody else will figure it out, and I could just do this forever?
I felt like my times were actually the fastest times the last 8 laps. So out of Brent Marks, Danny Dietrich, Justin Peck, Rico Abreu, my lap times were the fastest out of the majority of those guys at the end of the race there. So I feel like if it was another 5 laps, I was definitely on the podium. If it was another 10, I'm definitely up there competing with Danny and Brent for the win there. I feel really confident at Selinsgrove. I mean, I was a Selinsgrove 360 driver for a lot of years. I won there. So I just got a lot of laps there, and I feel really confident, especially in those situations. So, yeah, I wish it was 100 laps. I'd have loved it. Love to keep going.
I mean, I think with the amount of races that you talked about that you run every year, those laps at Selinsgrove are priceless when you show up. So, I think that your curve might be a little bit longer because, again, 20 races at Port, or however that mix is, that's going to take some more time to, race with the top tier guys, like you said, are racing all those years. So I was going to throw a next question to Chris, and he's gone. So sorry, Chris, you're going to miss out, bud. No, but so with Selinsgrove, some changes happened in the off season. little management shakeup, management changeover. Have they released a schedule for 2023 yet?
No, they haven't.
Okay, so I assume you're looking forward to what they got going there. And is it safe to say that any Selinsgrove 410 race, including Speed Week, you would be in attendance if the schedule works out?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay, fair
A
enough.
lot of my sponsors are from there, and we were really close. I was good friends with the old promoters. They've been around a long time. Some local business owners, but I mean, times change, things change that are out of my hands. So I always wish the best for whoever's running a racetrack. And I hope improvements are made, and I hope we do better the next year than we did the year before. So I wish all the luck to them, and I'll be there. They got me. So
yeah, I agreed. I think Selinsgrove has always been that like talking point of like, is it going to survive? Is it going to make it? And again, from a distance here, I'm not hugely involved in that track a lot, but I think from a distance as a fan, it's kind of like, what's the path? What's the plan? What's the future look like? And we all want all of our tracks to survive, right? We even got Grandview as a fringe. It's in Pennsylvania, but I think last year it really hit a lot of people in the fields about not having Grandview, and I don't know that I'm not a guy. I've been there twice maybe, but it still was like, man, that would suck to lose a track. Right. I think Selinsgrove falls in that category. And, I wish the new management group nothing but the best and growth that it gets back to what it once was, as far as one of the top tier tracks in Pennsylvania. Chris, we just finished up there with the Selinsgrove. What do you got?
I mean, I think it was a really cool story there. I was trying to think. So would that obviously that'd probably be your favorite race of the season that we just had, or is there another one that kind of ranks up there with that Selinsgrove race?
No, like races that come back to me, maybe there's been some good nights that we finished third at Port Royal. We're real proud of. It's a stat. It helps talking points when you're talking to people. But some of my better races, me and Lucas Wolf must have traded slide jobs one night 10 times. I ended up third or fourth that night, but me and Lucas went at it, and it's stuff like that it's real memorable to me. Until I pick up that first 410 win, it's nights like that where you can race side by side real close with these guys, lap in and lap out, and nobody's making a mistake. It's a lot of fun, and like I'll go up to that driver after the race and say, "Man, that was a blast. I'll see you again next week. That was so much fun." That happened with me and Parker Price Miller right at the beginning of the year. I actually I passed him, and then I held him off and finished third, probably the second or third night of the year. So and I ended up having a nice long conversation with him after the races, and he was dealing with a lot of stuff there. So I'll put an asterisk next to that me beating him, but I didn't know him before, but genuinely he's a really good guy, and we had a nice conversation about that night, and I edged him out, and I was real happy with a night like that.
So you keep saying about asterisks because you keep beating these guys, but I think at some point it's not just a mistake, right? You're consistently running up there and you're figuring it out and things like that. So with that being said, if you had to pick one race that you could maybe realistically win, what would be that race for you? Would it be the Tuscarora 50 or something else?
I think I'd rather win the Weicker, to be honest. I would love to have that damn bullhead trophy. I would put it in front of my TV on the mantle. I'd have to look around it to watch TV, and I would gladly do that.
It's definitely one of the coolest trophies, and
event.
That event is definitely growing year to year too. We talked like last week with Justin Sider. We talked about how big Tuscarora 50 is getting with the Weikerts, kind of matching that growth too. Was another big event to kick off summer. So that's interesting. Wouldn't have guessed that, but that is a cool trophy.
Oh, yeah.
So how would that party go that night?
Well, we just Rob Peters and his wife have a camping spot in the fenced in area at Port Royal, like right behind the grandstands, and we just secured a spot right beside them with our RV. So we might be there till
That
Monday.
party's not ending, is what.
Yeah, we
I'm
might be
hearing.
there till Monday at that point.
Chris, that sounds like beers on the way out to the other campsites.
Yeah,
Right. It sounds
yeah.
like
I'm in.
Dylan
our
would, like,
homeland.
come
We
outside
had that one way up.
and me skinny dipping in his swimming pool.
So earlier, I want to ask you something here that is kind of unrelated, but last year you started the season with a red car and ended with a gray car, or was it gray car to red car?
We one of the sad accomplishments that we had last year was that we top five different frames, 5 different race cars. So we started the year out on a we at the end of the year 2 years ago, we tore up our SNE, and we started the year out this year on an 05 because frames were hard to get. So we started the year out on our 05 Mach 1. It was the only 40-inch car we had, and that's the car I beat Parker Price Miller with. And a lot of guys at first they had no idea what car it was, but by that time they all knew that car and they hated it because it was this bent 05 piece of shit that was finishing in front of them. And it was more Rob Peters' shock package and me just willing it to the front than anything. But we started out the year with that. We ended up getting we got 2 brand new SNEs that are amazing race cars. It'll be hard pressed to get me out of them. We tore the first one up at Port Royal with the AJ Flick wreck. Me and another driver got into it at the end of the front stretch, kind of a racing deal. We both went for the same spot, and it sent me straight into the guardrail. And it was one of those hits that I thought, like, wow, I'm glad this is over. And then all of a sudden, AJ came in there. And at a place like Port Royal, you're running the fence. You got nowhere to go. A guy comes up in front of you like that, you're there. He was already committed. I'm sure he did everything in his power to not hit me. And that was a shot that put me out for a week. And I've never missed a race due to injury. And I needed a week off to recoup and get my stuff back together. And we broke out our other SNE. Was a black frame, but the same body, same wings. They were red wings, so that was the red car you're talking about. And we got the first night back in that car. We finished 3rd at Port Royal, which is a good night. Coming back from missing a week due to injury, coming back finishing 3rd, we were pretty happy with that. Take it to we run 5th the week after that at Port Royal. Take it to Selinsgrove. We're one of those nights at Selinsgrove. The weather hindered the racetrack. A big track like that, it's hard to know how much water to put on. Weather comes in. It was 140 mile an hour, wide open, curved in the middle of the racetrack, and you at the end of the straightaways, the car's groaning, the motor's groaning. You're just hoping at that point you're not passing anybody. You're ripping tear-offs off left and right. You're holding your hand in front of your face so you can see. And doesn't the right rear tire delaminates at the end of the backstretch, and it happened so fast. I hit the fence, started flipping, and by the time the first person came over to me and asked me what happened, I said the motor blew. It had to. I got to the end of the straightaway and some catastrophic noise, and I'm flipping. And they leaned in and said, your right rear tire's gone. Nothing's left, no sidewall, no nothing. It's just a wheel. So that was the first time I blew a right rear in a situation like that, and just getting past that was a little hard. Like 2 laps later, that same race, Mark Smith blows a right rear, coming off of 4, doing 80 mile an hour and coast to a stop, and I'm like, why the fuck did that happen to me?
Right.
Why not me? But it's just the cars we were dealt that night. It set us back in our racing program because we put a lot of our funds into the motor program at the beginning of the year and in the middle of the year. We picked up 2 all but new 410 motors, one being brand new from HP, and we were left there with no cars. We could throw the old 40-inch Mach 1 back together. We knew it was okay, but you're hard pressed to get that to the front. Or we can go out and try and find a car. We made a lot of phone calls. And I called a lot of local drivers. If I could get in the backup car, if I could run there. Some of the guys I knew didn't run weekly. Would they let me run their primary car for the dream race? And doesn't Mark Smith give me a call back? And he says, hey, come pull my 360 motor out of my primary 360 car and take it. And I'm like, you sure? You just seen what I did last week to my own shit. And we pull his motor out. He lives outside of Sunbury, which is like 10 minutes from me, which is awesome. I didn't have to go to Timbuktu to pick a car up. But we put our motor in it. Rob Peters comes up, rubs his hand together and do some voodoo to the thing. And we throw our rings on it and we head to the track. And I don't know if we timed that night. I ended up starting in the front of my heat race. I don't know if it was pill draw or time trials, but somehow I got pretty lucky there starting up front. Started next to Mike Wagner, who's a force to reckon with at Port Royal, him and his son. If you can beat one of them too on a regular night, you've done something at Port Royal. And he took the lead for the majority of the heat race, and he was sailing the top, and I don't think he knew that the middle was there. There was a lane right through the middle, and being the leader in any race, heat race, feature, or whatever, it's the best worst spot to be in because you can't see the guy behind you, whether he's gaining, what line he's running. You can't see the mistakes that he's making that you can improve on. And I was able to get up close to him with like 2 laps to go. And I threw 2 sliders on him the last 2 laps, and I ended up the second one was pretty close, and he had to get on the binders, and it left me able to take the win of the heat race, which with pill draw started me 4th in the first feature of the the dream race. We went into the dream race 2 twin 20s, and I said to the guys, I said, if we can stay in the top 8 was the maximum invert. I said, we can stay in the top 8, that'd be good. I really think we have a shot at the second feature. We're always a late race team. I always put stuff together last 10 laps of features. So I figured if I could just hold on to a top 8 finish, and we could make the invert and start up front of the second feature. And I cut it a little too close. I finished 8th, started 4th, went backward. But you got a lot of good cars around you, and you're trying not to push it, not to hurt your tires. It's hard keeping them behind you. So we start outside front row with the dream race, and we go lap after lap after Blaine Heimbach. I was throwing sliders on him. It was one of my better races of the year, I think, and pretty impressive to myself in a car I've never run before. I've limited lap in a big cage car, like a Big Max, but that was a Mach 1 that Mark had. We put a really good night together, and I would have finished on the podium. I passed for the lead a couple times. And when you're racing a guy like that, you're letting other guys catch up to you. And when you got the caliber of guys that we race against there behind you, like Danny Dietrich and Lance DeWeese was there that night, Logan and Dylan, Danny was able to catch up to us, and he got me and Blaine pretty quick. He dealt us out real fast, and it put me back in 3rd. And then I was racing Lance for a couple laps. He got by me. He got by Blaine. Then I ran the last lap going through 3 and 4. I put a slider on Blaine, trying to get a podium there, and I went in too deep and missed it. I allowed Dylan Cisney to get by me, and that put me back to 5th. But that was one of the nights that we top 5'd with a car that we hadn't sat in, and we hang our hats on that one because that was quite an accomplishment for something that we didn't have a lot of control over.
So with the Mach 1, what body did you have on that car?
I had Mark's. It was the Brake Clean CRC Brake Clean, and they called Mark that week and said that kid may not run our logo on the car. So if you go back and you see any pictures of that, you will see that the CRC is actually white duct tape over top of it. All it says is Brake Clean.
I'm gonna have to go back and actually watch that because I don't think I was in town that weekend. I did not make it to the Dream Race that weekend, so that's an interesting little nugget that I did not know about. I'm gonna go back and watch that race. So when did you break out the all gray? Is it carbon fiber gray? What was the deal with that one?
That's the original Mach 1. That the all gray car was the original Mach 1.
Like
And
one of the top 10 schemes, like design. It's simple, but man, is that thing sharp. That's what I
oh,
was kind of getting to.
I
I don't
loved
know
it.
what it is about that car. Man, that thing is just on point. Like
I
it's
know.
simple, it's contrast. Like
Mhm.
Chris, do you know the car I'm talking about?
I'm working on it. Yep. Give me a second.
Like,
It'll be up on the screen.
do
I
we have a
think so.
picture of that? I had a
think.
picture of the red one, but I didn't have any on my website of the gray one, and I lost like 2 terabytes of
Is it
data
this one?
here in the last 2 weeks.
Is this the one?
That's the one. Wait.
Oh yeah, there she is.
Yeah, that car, I don't know what it is. Like it's not extravagant, but man,
No,
it just
simple.
it's just clean and it's sharp, and the red, the gray, the white, it's perfect.
Yep. Yeah. In
Yeah, I love
the money we save on powder coating is pretty sweet there, actually.
I bet it is. You know, if you said about the race you'd want to win would be the Weikert. So where do you see what are your do you set goals each year at this point? I know like it's probably been a little difficult, right? Like necessarily foreseeing the future.
Yeah.
But goals for 2023, is it just, hey, I want to hit this many races, do the best we can, or are you setting some specific goals for you and the team?
Well, no, we start every year out. We have a pretty solid philosophy. Top tens breed top five, top fives breed podiums, and podiums breed wins. So the first goal of every race you're going into is, okay, put yourself in a position to finish in the top 10. And if you've done that, you've put yourself in a position to finish in the top 5. You've done that, and so on and so on. So the word PA posse guy gets thrown around a lot when you talk to some out of towners. You race sprint cars in PA, they always ask you, "Are you a PA posse guy? Are you one of the guys?" And I always tell them no, because I do race in PA. I'm a 410 driver, but I haven't won. I haven't won a 410 race yet. So it's hard to sit here and say like, hey, I'm part of this elite group of drivers, and I have yet to win. I've come close. I've put myself in positions to win, and I've made mistakes. So until I can put one of those nights together and be the guy at the top of the podium, it's hard to call yourself a PA posse guy. I lost where we were at there.
Oh no, I have thoughts on that. Number one, you're wrong. You can be as humble as you want to be, but that's not true. I don't care if you went anywhere in this country, someone's going to go, that's a posse guy. Okay. You go anywhere else, you leave here and be like, oh man, he's from PA. He's a posse guy. That's not true. You don't have to win become part of the family. And listen, we are PA posse. We get to make up the rules. Okay. Like there are no rules, and anybody watching outside of Pennsylvania knows that we make up the rules, and we can be whatever the hell we want to be and include whoever the hell we want. So
yeah,
no, man, listen, I know, like, I appreciate you stopping by with us, spending some time. It's been almost 50 minutes already. I'm a fan. I definitely will keep an eye on you this year and kind of how the journey is going. And I have a little bit already. And like I said, I know with the connection with Kyle Keene, and he knows you guys a little bit. I kind of did already, but I've learned a ton. And listen, man, you're posse, dude. You don't have to necessarily win a race yet to be that guy. To be posse, you're in that group. I've seen you race and pass enough good cars in my time with the limited amount of track time you have that you're one of us for sure, man. And I listen, I've never been behind the wheel of a car and I'm posse. Here we are. So, Chris, I'll let you finish up, man. Michael, thank you. You gained a new fan tonight. Looking forward to seeing you in 2023.
Yeah, same. Like looking forward to following you along. I know you have your baby's been back there looking for you.
In the background.
Yeah,
a little bit. She's having a good time, or not having a good time. I'm not sure
having
which.
a good time. So we appreciate your time. I know you've been a busy guy the last 2 days with all this stuff, so we appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you. Like we tell everyone, when you win, we'll see you in Victory Lane. We'll burn it down and have you back on the show.
Hell yeah. We'll have some beer, my guy.
Do you have any partners and stuff you want to share, or any other stories you want to share before you head out?
Another tidbit I want to throw in there with the 5 race cars thing. After Mark only let us run that car that one night, and we had to find our own car. We called around, and Jim Shuttlesworth came through for us. He gave us a pretty sweet deal on one of their used their Maxims, and we finished the year out on that. So I'd like to thank him for helping us out there at the end of the year with getting us in our race car. And I have a lot of partners that come through and do a lot for me, that get us to the racetrack every week. The Doak family, Doak and Co. It's more of a group of people that get together. They pitch in a lot of money, and they just like to see their name on the racetrack. And Deckard Financial, another guy part of the Doak family, he came on board this year. That really helps. Dave Bodmer is a guy I met playing golf, and he's a foot doctor, and he's a pretty awesome dude, and we have a good time. We sit down and have some beers here and there, and he wanted to be part of a race team, and we were really thankful to have him come on board this year. I've known Dean DeLamar from Dirt Car Lift. Now they're selling them selling all over the country. It's a big late model hydraulic lift. I met him in Ohio and gave him a couple beers at the Mansfield World Championships, and we had a good time. And it's this guy from Georgia who was just looking for somebody to use his lift, and I provided an avenue for him to keep a lift up here, and he's been part of our race team for several years now because of that. I'd like to thank Alicia from GCAB Staffing. She came on board this year, a nursing staffing company, and she's just a huge race fan, and she wanted to be on a race car, and I'm so thankful for her coming on board. And I have good friends on my race car that I went to school with that own their own businesses. I have a really smart friend, Ben Kahn. He went and became a lawyer, and I'm always thankful for that because I'm going to need him someday. I get myself in some trouble once in a while at the pits, and I'm going to need some guy with his expertise to be around our racing program. So I'm glad that he wanted to be a part of our team. And Colby Fisher, Jeff Reese, Wicked Dog, Jeff Furlong with CMC Powder Coating. He gives me great deals on everything out of Sunbury, and I'm so thankful for all the stuff that these people do for me to get me on the racetrack every single week. I wouldn't be able to do this without them, and a lot of what I've become in racing is because of people that have supported me and give me a chance to prove that I can drive and try to be a PA Posse member.
We appreciate you coming on, and I will let you get out of here and go take care of that baby.
Yeah, my wife's gonna kill me because I've been in here for like 2 hours, and he hasn't stopped screaming in 2 hours. So I might be catching the baby when I walk out of here. So.
Sorry, our bad.
Yeah, all right, Michael, we appreciate it.
Yep.
You have a good night.
Take care, man.
Thanks,
you so much.
See you guys.
Take care. Awesome, man. Hey, take a quick break. We're going to come right back. We're going to bring Aaron Bollinger on next. Get to know him a little bit. Young guy, up and coming here in Central PA. Give us just a minute. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. Whenever you're ready for Was that Jay-Z?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, we're back. We're ready to bring Aaron in.
Let's go, man. Let's get it going. There he is. What's up, dude?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, buddy. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for taking out your time here. I know it's getting late, so we won't keep you too long, or another 2 hours, whichever. We'll find out, I guess. So, appreciate you taking the time again, man. I like to start every guest kind of background a little bit because, you know, I really don't know your background a ton until the last few years. So I'm not a big. I assume you did 600 micros or 270s, maybe. I assume, but I don't know that. I don't get to a lot of 600 or 270 shows or speedsters. You kind of burst onto the scene here a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your background and what got you here. I know you don't have a huge history because you're not a veteran guy at this point, but tell us a little bit about your history, man, and how you got to today.
Yeah, I feel like when someone asks me that, I tell a different story every time. So,
well, tell us the real one. Tell us the truth.
So my family does not come from racing.
Okay.
So the only reason I race is because of my dad. Like my dad's side doesn't come from racing, and my mom's side doesn't. So my dad raced when he was a kid in a 270 by himself. When he was 16, and I think he stopped when he was 18 years old. So he's always liked racing. So he's the one that got me into it. He got me my first quarter midget when I was 6 years old. And I ran at Phoenixville for a pretty long time. And then we ran on pavement with the USAC tour up until I was 14 years old. So we went all along the East Coast, like to Indy, Michigan, Georgia, all that stuff. And then I did that till I was like 14. And then we got our first micro. We got a hyper, and we always sticked with hypers. So, and we didn't venture outside of Pennsylvania with the micro. Like we didn't do the races in Ohio or Indy just because our business here. And once you get out of quarter midgets, it gets so much more expensive. So you kind of got to start watching what you're doing. So we stayed in PA, and I ran micros until I was 18 or 19. We got 14 feature wins in the micro. And then, then we sold everything, and we got a 410 right away. We actually went and looked at a 358 first. I forget the guy's name, but he was selling out of everything. And we did not get the 358 because at that time they were wanting to switch. They were running 3x5 wings, and they were wanting to switch to 5x5s. So we didn't know what was going to happen there. So we just said, well, why don't we just get a 410 and run Lincoln every Saturday night, just focus there. And we didn't put any stress on ourselves because we'll just run there whenever we can. So that's what we did.
Man, so I like that. Those stories are crazy to me. Like, I don't think that'll ever not be insane to me that racing a race car in any competitive environment is badass. Like I'm a fan, been a fan my whole life, watching all forms, but it'll never cease to amaze me going from a 600 micro to a 410. You could, yeah, there might have been a gap in between the days you drove, but let's say it's a month. Let's say I don't care how long. Did it feel like you were going 9,000 miles per hour the first time you jumped in it?
I don't know. I want to say yeah, but it didn't, because I don't know why it didn't. It just kind of came naturally, but I don't want to say it came naturally either because it's not like I was good right off the bat. Luckily, I didn't tear too much stuff up, though. I tore the most stuff up this previous year for some odd reason.
This past year.
Probably because I was getting more comfortable.
I mean, yeah, you get more aggressive as you get more comfortable, right? You take more chances.
Yeah, and that's when you start tearing stuff up.
Kind of learn the limits of where you're at. So you had some success in the micro, jumped into the 410, and you concentrated on Lincoln. And 2022 was your third or second full year?
Probably my third full year.
Third full year. So I kind of watched all three of those years a little bit, from a distance, and I got to know you a little bit more this past season a little bit as I got more involved in the pit area and kind of watching everybody's journey. But you stand out to me as one of those guys who we don't have to say, hey, go faster. You're not that guy, right? I put you in that kind of group now. like I'm not comparing you in any way to wins or finishes or stats, but like, a guy we don't have to be like, hey man, you got to go harder. Like a Dylan Norris, yourself, a Jaden Wolf, like even like Riley Emig. Like we don't have to be like, hey bud, you got to pick up the pace. You guys are 100%. So I think maybe 2021 there was a feature you led most of the race, like at Lincoln, and I'm telling you, it felt like it was 20 time trial laps, just balls to the wall,
I
ripping.
remember that. That was crazy stupid.
And I don't remember I don't remember how that ended up, but man, that stood out to me. Like this kid's going to win some races. Like this guy's going to get after it, and I think that is kind of evolved. And even if 2022 didn't go in the plans as far as successes or wins or in the stat column, I agree with you. And sometimes you got to find that limit. And I think you found it this year a little bit. And I watched a lot of turn 2, 3, and 4 at Lincoln this year, and you were on the limit a lot. And you're that one of those guys. So where 2022 was some struggle, but where do you feel like you are in your point of your career with three seasons under your belt, going into number 4? Where do you feel like you are as far as learning and ready to win? I mean, everybody wants to win every week they show up, but it's not easy. So where do you feel like you are right now?
Where do I feel like I'm at? Man, I don't know. I feel like we're going to be in a good place this year. I mean, everybody says that every single year, but I feel like we'll have a decent year. I don't know. I don't know why last year wasn't as successful as I thought. I think we just tried so many different things because of what we learned in previous years, and we were just trying to get that much better. And then we kind of screwed stuff up, and you kind of get in that rut. And then I kind of got back into the groove. I got a different shock package, and then for the rest of the year, last year, halfway to the end, I got better and kind of got on a roll again. I actually took notes for once. Usually if I don't feel like it's worth taking notes, I won't even jot anything down. So I don't know, June to the end, I took a ton, and I feel like I have a lot to lean on this year, and I think we're going to get a good place. But again, I can say that this whole interview, but when it comes time to do the deal, who knows? You know what I mean? But
well, this time of the year, it's like an NFL team before the season starts, right? Everybody's leading a division. So at this point, you haven't lost a race and you haven't won a race. There's not a lot to lose at this point. But are you a guy, you said about taking notes, are you a guy who might go back and watch film of the races now that we have, Flow and Dirt Vision? I know you did some Williams Grove, and we'll get into that in a minute here. Yeah. But like, let's say on Flow, are you a guy who goes back and reviews like whatever you can see of yourself on camera, or maybe even if it's not you, but do you just see? Are you a student of the game, let's say?
Yeah, that's a good question with the Flow there, because a lot of the times they don't film you, especially if you're not leading. So I try and watch as much of that as I can. I try and watch more in-car video because for me as a driver, I can really see what's going on. I have some in-car with loose, and that did help me a little bit. I watch more of a lot of other guys' stuff too, just seeing how the car is balanced and everything else. That's just kind of how I learn.
And have you noticed an evolution in the last couple of years in how people are balancing their cars? Because, again, I'm not a driver. I'm not a team. I'm just a fan, and I've noticed a lot. I feel like these cars are getting more right rear heavy than they have been in previous years a little bit, especially at Lincoln. Now, maybe there's some other tracks that's true, and again, maybe you can actually be the pro and tell me. But I feel like some guys are kind of getting these things leaned on the right rear a little bit more than they ever have in the last few years. What are you seeing?
And I don't know. That's a good point with a lot on the right rear, because every driver has their own opinion. I haven't ran at Williams Grove in my own stuff to tell you, but I can say that a lot of guys like right rear weight there for some reason. Now Lincoln, I found I was getting faster when I started getting a lot more rebound on my shock on the left rear. So I don't know. It's weird. I have no idea. But like you said about the whole balancing thing, it seems like everybody is pretty spot on in PA. Like the whole field is pretty dang even. And I think a lot of that has to do with newer shock packages coming out. Adjustable shocks, double adjustable stuff. And if you get shocks from Slade or FK, they get you in the ballpark with their sheets pretty much right out of the bat. So, man, my personal opinion, shocks are 60% of how the sprint car handles in today's age or more.
And I've been hearing that a lot here, especially probably the last 2 years, last year, 2021, 2022, maybe even going back to 2020, that, the real innovation in the sport right now is shocks. And everybody else has a lot of the stuff figured out pretty close. You maybe there's something in the motors, but you got to have all the money, right? Or
Yes.
the rest of the stuff, for the most part, it's kind of figured out a little bit. Now, a tire compound change could change a lot this season, right? And what's worked and what didn't. But it sounds like the overwhelming thing I keep hearing is shocks, and
Yeah.
get it tuned for the right track, and having these manufacturers get it tuned. So you said you made a shock change. What was your change to? Who did you go with to second half here?
So we were always with Slade. I think he's out of North Carolina, maybe Indiana, but I never had adjustable shocks. I never had good knowledge with shocks by the time I started core midgets. Obviously, you're not going to, you're young. Even in my micros, for some reason, my mind just couldn't comprehend a dyno sheet. It was just so intimidating to me. And then when I first started sprint cars, it was still, we didn't have any adjustable shocks, and that probably hurt us. But and then I had one guy come and help me at the racetrack one night. And it was a huge eye opener. He's like, man, you got to get to be able to adjust with these shocks through the night. And so I did that. And that was this previous year. Actually, the race I led all the laps in when I came second to Macri, that was my first night on a new shock package. So I got a left front adjustable, a left rear, and a right rear, and that changed our whole program. It changed the whole balance of the race car. It's amazing what a different valving can do.
Did you know it right away? Did you feel it right away?
Practice instantly.
And so, is there like a thing where, like, oh wow, that's confidence, right? We talked to Jordan Givler a few weeks back about that, and he made a switch to FKs. I think the Billy Kimmel race at the Grove, and I told him, I said, from observing, I was on his trailer that night, just kind of watching with Dakota and the crew a little bit, and I said, I could see him driving with more confidence, and he said, well,
Right.
It was that, and the car did, like, it went faster, like it
Right.
it was better. So like. It's amazing to me that change can be that dramatic in the sport when everything is so close. Like, you guys are all like so close. You look at time trials and you look at features and how much like everybody's on top of each other at every place around here. There's not a huge disparity anymore between, like, first and 16th. Like,
No.
I think at Lincoln, I feel like there's 10 plus guys who could win if you're starting on the front row and things go right, or more, right? So, like, to have something go one night to the next, put these things on, push the buttons, do the things, do the dials, and boom. It just amazes me in 2022, 2023 that something can make that big of a difference. Now, this past year, you said you tore up a lot of equipment.
Yeah, good bit of it.
What did you learn?
Just don't do it. I don't know. I don't think I learned anything. Like, you still got to be aggressive, right? I mean, the first one I tore up was actually in Westbrook's car when I was still running for him. It wasn't even my fault. I started in the back and there was a big pile up, and I just got into it. We tore the car up. And then I think the next week, actually, that was completely my fault. We were running 7th and I tagged the fence and I went flipping. And then, man, the week after, my drag link stud snapped going into turn 3. So I knew steering, and that's when I went head on to the wall. And that was a new chassis, so that completely destroyed it. But what you said, what did I learn? Nothing.
So it wasn't a lot of self errors. Like, you might have had one, but everybody's doing error. Like, nobody's perfect, but sometimes it's just bracing, right? Like, that's just, we know that's a part of it. And I'm fairly certain I was at the Williams Grove both weeks back to back, and I think I was standing right beside you guys. I was maybe with Jordan or somebody's trailer or Troy. And I like, the car rolled in and I'm like, oh my God, I felt so bad. Like, this thing is destroyed. And, like, it's a tough deal no matter how it is. And especially, Westbrook, he brings that car on Friday nights, right? He kind of lives for Friday night when it's out there racing, and to bring that thing back on a wrecker and on
I felt horrible. It sucks.
It sucks, man. It's just kind of a shitty deal. So what, we just talked to Mike a little bit there about goals and goal setting. And have you kind of set goals in a 410 each year you've gone into the season?
Not really. I'm just the kind of guy that just goes out there and gives them all, and whatever happens, happens. Um, and I never really set goals. I feel like if we just work our butts off and I don't know, put all our focus into it, you'll get the results, and then your personal goals in your mind will show. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's perspective a little bit on like,
mm,
hey, I've always talked about goals in like my own career, like SMART goals, right?
yeah,
Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant. What's the T, Chris? Remember the T? With trackable, right? And like in racing, it's kind of one of them deals where you're not a veteran guy in the 410 rank. So it's like, okay,
mm,
I'm still learning. We're still, like you said last year, it was sort of like chasing it, right? We got something and then we just chased it all season. And it's hard to get back to zero when you go to the racetrack the next weekend and go, okay, stop. Let's
right,
start here. And you feel
yeah,
like you're starting over when you're like, damn, we have 3-4 months of progress. But even though we're struggling to go backwards, I can understand the mental side of it. Where do you stand with that? Like, you seem like a pretty easy guy to kind of get over the last week.
hmm.
Does that weigh on you, or are you pretty good at like kind of wiping away everything and going, hey, new week, new me?
No, it's definitely new week, new me. Because if you worry about it, it's just going to affect not only the next race you go to, but it's just going to affect your whole work week, your life. So, I, man, if something bad happens, I'll be down Sunday morning washing the car. I'll be the grumpiest guy at the house. But then Monday morning, go to work. You just got to forget about it and go to the next race. And even if you're on the highest of high, you know, that next week, you could win one Saturday in Lincoln and then go just the next Saturday race and you finish dead last and don't even make the show. So you just kind of got to stay humble and just not worry about it.
We made fun of Brett Strickler for doing that. He his first career 410 race, he made the feature, and the next week didn't make the race at all. So we made
Yeah.
fun of him for that. Still will, by the way, Brett, if you're listening or watching. Um, that threw me off track because I make fun of Brett. Chris, what questions do you have?
Uh, he's Aaron's going to have an answering on them. You kind of threw out the goal question. So looking ahead, what's your schedule? Is it strictly Lincoln for most of the season, or you got to bounce around?
I don't know. I never put a schedule together because I don't know. I feel like if I put a schedule out, I'm not going to follow it anyway when I post on social media. So we'll just stick right now to Lincoln, and we are searching for a motor. There's so many out there, but there's one that our engine builder's trying to get done, but they cannot get parts for it. It's not ours right now. I think it's Mike Wagner's, but I don't know what they're going to do with it. If Mike's going to keep it or not. So if we get that third motor, we'll probably run that on and off of Williams Grove. And if we don't acquire it, then we'll just run Lincoln and Baps. And I'd like to do Grandview. That'd be pretty cool to do Grandview again. Um, but yeah, no schedule.
So you mentioned a couple times about work, and I see Bollinger on the side of the car. Are you in the family business? What is the family business? Tell me a little bit about all that.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in the family business. My dad started it probably 30 years ago now. Bollinger Septic Services. So we're into the crappy business. We pump septics out. So we service them, empty them out. And then we also have probably 150 portable restrooms. And then so that's what I do full time come summertime because I get so busy with it. Then I'll help my dad's Friday when I'm free. And then that's it. That's our business. And it's just me, my mom, and my dad. We have no employees. So
Um, with you said 30 years in the business. What did he do before you got involved? It was just him and your mom, and you guys they just went at it like that, and they said, "Hey, we had a kid. He's free labor."
yeah, right. Um, yeah, no. Well, when my dad first started, I think he tried with a whole employee deal, and man, it takes a special person to own a business and have a bunch of employees. It's just a lot of stress. There's stuff getting
Yeah.
tore up, and can't trust people. So we kind of went to that route where it was just us.
And
So
sometimes it's the safest way, and
yeah,
not
but
that
after
protecting it, but it's hard to grow at times too, right? And that
yes,
trust is tough.
yes. And we're happy where we're at anyway with it. I mean, we do what our means are. I think we do fairly well. So, but with what you said, I was never always working full time for them. Um, After high school, I worked on a midget team for a couple weeks because I just wanted to give it a try and see how I liked kind of not racing, just working on race cars. and I didn't like that. So I came back home and now I'm back here, and I like what I do. So I can't get any more freer of a schedule. I'm on my own time. Um, there's no rush getting anything done. So I mean, in the summertime, it is a pretty loaded schedule, and I can't complain. I just work all day and come home and work on race cars in the summer. So
It doesn't sound that bad to me. Who helps you out with the team? You said your dad did a little bit of racing, but not a huge racing background family. So as you got into 410s, man, it can take a monumental effort sometimes. And I know obviously you're putting a lot of your own time in. And I'm sure mom and dad help at points, but who helps you weekends at the track and getting this thing ready and hauling it up down the road?
yeah, it's just us. It's just me and my dad that work on the car. My mom does the merchandise. We have a really good friend. We actually met doing a job, emptying a septic tank out, and it turns out he was into racing when he was younger. So he's been going with us now. This is going to be his third year. He goes with us just to the races, and he is a big help on tires and fuel and everything else. But yeah, man, it's just us, and it is a lot of work, especially when it's race season. It's like, I mean, sometimes you could wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work and you're not done till 10, 11 o'clock at night in the garage. It's just a ton of man hours. So it is stressful. It wears you out.
And it's good you're young because you race a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen you race. I don't know, maybe 40 times this year, and I might have gone to 40 races. So
Yeah.
I think you were at every race. No, not quite. You didn't run a lot of Port Royal, so I made it to, I don't know, 10 Port races maybe this past year, maybe a couple more. But what if you may not have put a lot of thought into this, and I think that sounds like kind of getting to know you a little bit and learning. It's kind of sounds like, hey man, we'll just show up and use the right pedal a whole lot. So
Mhm.
not a ton of thought into it. I mean, you definitely do. It's not like you're not thinking, but what would you put yourself in? What kind of stylistic driver have you thought about? Like kind of who you are? Or you're just like, hey man, that's an open lane. I'm going there and see what happens, or like not to compare, no one compares himself to anyone else. You are you, you're Aaron, you
Right.
do you. But if you had some sort of style, would you name your style of driving?
I don't know if I can name it. And that's a really good question. That's a hard question to answer. I don't know. Track surface wise, I've never been that good on slick tracks. I feel like I'm getting better, getting the car more better. I prefer, and some people can almost see it when the track's wet and heavy, tacked up with a big cushion. I'm way better because it's like no direction, dude. It's just hammer down and whatever happens, happens. That's just kind of my style. And not really whatever happens, happens. I mean, it's just, I still have like a direction, but I am definitely better when there is a cushion and it's just flat out for sure.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm gonna give you that moniker, that comparison, that something is like Sheldon Haudenschild, because you're a crazy person. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd have the intestinal fortitude to do some of the things I've seen you do in a race car when it's heavy and there's a curb, and like it's awesome. Like I'm a fan. I enjoy watching you race, make a 410 do like work at 100% of its capacity when the track is like that. And I think what I've seen over the years, probably in observation, is experience in that slick track and the slower stuff is experience and laps and seat time and figuring out, man, like going slower is faster sometimes, probably, right? And I
Yeah.
don't know if you have that yet, just
Yeah.
because you're like, I like to go fast, like Ricky
Right.
Bobby style, right? So, and that is perfectly acceptable, and you're going to win races doing that at some point. But I also think there's a balance to it, and I think that comes with age, experience, and
Right. It
time.
does. Yeah.
410s aren't easy. Like if it was easy, yeah, everybody would do it, and it's
Yeah.
not freaking easy. And
But back to what you said earlier with how good everybody else is, like it's almost like when the track's tacky now in PA, like I feel like the field's kind of changing into a bunch of young kids now. Not kids, but I
it's
feel
getting
like half
younger.
the field is younger guys and they're all on the hammer and they're crazy. So I feel like it's kind of the new style right now.
So have you found in your times at Lincoln, right? So we'll just use Lincoln because that's where you've had the most laps. Is it easier to race in the top five, or is it easier to race in the middle back of the pack?
Definitely probably up front because Lincoln's kind of like that paperclip racetrack. And maybe if there's a long green flag run, it doesn't matter where you're at, but it's definitely easier to race up front, more clean air. If you're back there in the middle, like 10th on back, there's a lot going on. So
I feel like I see those guys, 10th on back when I see you guys kind of battling with each other. You can be driving harder than the next guy and you're not making up any ground
yeah,
on
I
the
don't know
next
why
guy.
that is either. But then when you're up front, you're pulling away like crazy.
And I think it has to do with that dirty air for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, you,
it
you
does.
drive it harder and harder and harder, and the guy that's just putting around the bottom, you guys come off the corner even, and you're like, what the hell did I put all that effort in for? Cars get on the right, you just don't have any of that good air. So it's kind of like, what can you do to start inside the top 10 every
But
week?
it's weird to talk about dirty air because like there was an all-star race we were in. I don't know if it was a Kramer Clash or the Dirt Classic maybe, but we ran good. We made the show and we were in the top 10, but I didn't feel dirty air because I think when you get to that caliber of drivers, they're all going like the same speed. There's like no speed difference. They're all hauling ass. But then
Yeah.
on a local night, it's weird. There's just some guys are going a different speed than others, and I think that's when it starts to affect you.
Well, and I think too, when you get to that top 10 area, you all have a little bit of space, and
Yeah.
every other car is in the other lane because they know, why would I follow this guy on the top when
Mhm.
the bottom is now open, 2 cars in front of me? There's more air there. So it's almost like they pick their lanes top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom.
Yeah.
Where in the middle of the pack, it's 4 of you on the cushion and 4 of you on the bottom in a hornet's nest. Right. So I
And then
think
we're
that.
not going anywhere.
And they're not going anywhere. It's just
Yep.
a barrier. So it's like, man, and you look at the end of the season, you see these reviews of like average starting position where winners came from.
Mhm.
You got to be in the top 10. Like you got to figure out a way to start in the top 10
Every week,
around
yeah.
here every week to have a shot.
And at Lincoln, and well, pretty much everywhere in PA. I don't know about Port Royal because we don't go up there, but in Lincoln, unless it's a qualifying race, it is extremely hard to win if you're high in points because say like you win a feature, the next week you're going to start like dead last in the heat race. And there's some guys that come from dead last up to a transfer spot in the heat, but it's just that format makes it extremely hard to start in the top 10 every week.
It does. And format's been a big topic around here for years and years and years. And there's no good way to do it. Ultimately, the tracks want entertainment, so people show up. The racers want to say, listen, I'm a top 5 guy. I want to start in the top 5.
Yep.
The track's going, no. You're a top 5 guy and you need to start in the top 15 because we want you to go past cars and put on a show. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. No, I'm not here to start 15th and finish 7th. Like that's the competition's good. So it's always this battle against kind of like drivers, fans, and promoters. And like, what is the best way to do it? Because listen, if I'm, a Danny Dietrich, right? And I have 8 wins in a season. Why the hell would I want to show up and start 12th when I went out and won my heat? Like, because I won last week, went out and won my heat, I'm starting 12th.
And that
I'd feel some kind of way.
Yeah, that comes back to what I just said too. It kind of proves me wrong with Danny because he was starting the back of the heats and he was kicking our butts. So.
He is an alien sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
But Lincoln is having, I think, 13 qualifying shows this year, I believe. So
does that suit your style? Does that suit your style a little better?
I don't know if it suits my style, but I like it better because at least I have a chance of earning my spot up front in a heat race. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yes. So if you're good in qualifying, you're earning your whole night. Whereas
so it sounds like you'd prefer every weekly show just have some form of time trial.
At this point where we're at, I would prefer every race to be a qualifying show. Okay? I don't know why, but I just maybe because I hate starting in the back of a heat race every week.
What do you think about that BAPS format with the timed hot lap heat kind of deal?
I like it, but like last time we went, I was with Buddy Kofoid, Brent Marks, Danny. I think Macri was in my heat, so it was like I didn't even run that bad of a time. But for them guys, they killed us.
Of course, right?
It's like being in top split there.
But no, I'm excited for Lincoln's qualifying shows. I feel like we're kind of getting a little better at qualifying. I feel like we're getting somewhere with the package we have for it. I go out and qualifying a little different with everything, just with shocks and gear sometimes. So I'm excited to just kind of nitpick at it a little bit and try and get a little faster.
And this year, I feel like you got to figure it out quick, right? The Outlaws are in town awfully early this year.
Yeah, probably May or something.
No, March. The Outlaws are in town in March
and we have to run that fire suppression deal too.
And that. So, are you an icebreaker guy?
I don't know. I couldn't answer that. My parents are going on vacation here, the first week of February, and they're getting back the 12th, I think. So we'll see. We don't have our motors back yet, so that all depends.
That turns out you need those to race.
They're kind of important.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, right.
Who knew? So, what if
But
you
no rush
had?
to icebreaker because it is February. It's super cold.
It's a weird deal, man, because like there aren't many drivers I've been like, bro, I can't wait. But all of us are like, I want to see a race car. I want to see race cars go fast and be loud. We're all as fans.
Yeah. And just because it's kind of like me and my dad working on it, like it is kind of almost like your job. You are working your butt off with the race car. So I'd much rather work on it in 70 degrees than 30 degrees.
You're not wrong. I'd rather watch you in 70 degrees than watch in 30. But
imagine watching that thing in the morning at the car wash when it's cold out. Like
no.
sucks.
I mean, I work at a car dealership, so I kind of get it. It's mostly inside, but it's still miserable. It's like after a snowstorm at a car dealership, like the day of work we have afterward, it's just a nightmare.
Well, that stuff like fans don't think about. It sucks come that time of year.
Listen, I went with Kyle Keene. Okay, friends with Kyle. Went to Bedford the year he ran 305s. We went out to I think it was Bedford. Is that the one that's downhill down the front stretch and uphill up the back?
I think I've never been there, but they say it's pretty different racetrack.
Very different. And like he lives, an hour and 20 minutes north of where I live. So I got up there early, get the car, do the thing, and I was a crew guy for the day. I mean, I don't know shit, but I'm scraping mud and looking good. I'm the security guard for the team, but we get there, do the race, do the thing, and pack up and head home and I got home at like 3 a.m. and I got to his house at 6 a.m. I'm like, I didn't do shit today, but I'm exhausted. Like I can't even imagine the work that you got. You're driving, you're getting the truck and you're getting the car ready all week. And then no matter how the night went, you get to tear it apart in maintenance, good, bad, or indifferent, wrecked or not. Do you ever just walk in there, open the door or do whatever and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Do you have those moments?
I don't have those moments when we're running good, but if we're not running good, it is very depressing. Yes, I definitely do have those moments.
It's got to be tough, bro.
Yeah, but I just kind of try and get over it and just keep working, man.
So a few months ago, Port Royal came out on iRacing, and I didn't know you were an iRacing guy until I saw you on iRacing that night. We ran some Port Royal laps together and threw some cool sliders at each other. Turns out that's the slow line. Don't do that. As we all have come to found out that you just wall ride at Port Royal to go fast. But how much iRacing do you get in? You seem like a pretty busy guy with the schedule.
It's funny you say that. I was doing it for a while, and my steering wheel was right beside me here, and it broke. So I don't know what happened. Like if I turn it on, all it does is just spin. So I think a sensor's broken it or something.
We're going to have one of the iRacing pros come up there and help you fix that thing.
I need like a $200 sponsor to buy a new Thrustmaster.
Where do you live? Where's the shop and the house out of? What part of the country?
We are in Birdsboro, Pennsylvania. Probably 20 minutes away from Reading. Okay. And the shop is our house garage right now.
So did you race Bridgeport?
No, I did not.
Any interest?
Yeah, for sure. I might be wrong, but I think Bridgeport's kind of like a weird day, isn't it, when they usually race? Maybe not.
Well, the one in the fall there was very strange.
Like a Tuesday.
I went to they did the thing in October there. It was over the weekend, but it was just the format was really, really odd. Like I saw the same three guys on track throughout the day, and I'm like, I don't know why they're out here. Yeah. But I think they're going to have a high limit show, I believe, right? So have you kept up with that at all? What are your thoughts on the high limit?
Honestly, I haven't much. I've seen the schedule. I can look at my phone, but I don't even really know where they're going, to be honest.
I mean, I brought up Bridgeport, but they're going to be at Grandview.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
Like Grandview, Bridgeport are the most local to us. I mean, I think that with your interest, you said about Grandview, and you're not that far from Bridgeport. I don't know how far that is from you.
Grandview, we're not far from. It's not close, but it's the closest track we would go to.
So you got opportunities at Grandview. There's a speed week race. You have a high limit race. There's a couple all-star races. I mean, you got some opportunity to potentially put some laps in there this year.
Yeah, I see the schedule. I don't see the full schedule though. But here it is. Bridgeport. It's 23,000 to win too. They all are.
Yeah.
There's 50,000 too. Yeah, I'd like to go Grandview for sure.
That'd be cool. So if you had to win, this is usually Chris's question. Actually, you know what, Chris? I want you to ask this question.
All right. So what he's going to ask us, if you had to pick a race to win, what race would it be and why?
Oh, man, I have no idea. That's a hard. You guys ask hard questions.
Well, that's why we're here, my guy. I want you to think about these things and say, look, my bucket list, I'm going to win what race?
I don't know. I would say National Open. I want to say Knoxville, but I feel like anyone else that came on here would say Knoxville, so I'll say National Open at Williams Grove.
You'd be surprised.
Nobody said Knoxville yet.
Nobody that we've interviewed yet has
Right.
said Knoxville.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
been the Weichert, the
White
National
Christmas.
Open.
National Open a couple times.
Maybe like an outlaw-
Dirt
even-
Classic.
Yeah, Dirt Classic. I'd like to win the Dirt Classic too. That whole vibe there is pretty cool with that race. Place is just packed. And
Yeah. How you ran? Did you run the outlaw race last year at Lincoln in May?
I believe so. Yeah.
So, did you have any opinion, emotion about Jacob Allen winning that deal? Was that pretty cool to you? I mean, you're a young guy, but you're a Central PA guy. You grew up around here. Did that have any effect or emotion for you?
I would like to say yeah, but not really. I mean, not in a bad way at all.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know who Jacob Allen was until they went into the outlaw deal or Logan Schuchart. So I mean, it's cool because they're from around there, and the fans love it. So I guess my answer would be I guess I'd rather see him win that race since he's kind of from the area than someone like, I don't know,
Anyone
Gravel
else?
or Scotts.
Anyone else? Anyone
Any other
else?
outlaw that's not from Central PA? So good
Right.
answer, Aaron. Well done, sir. You passed the test. So you don't seem like a huge historian of the sport. Kind of going back. I mean, like you said, your family isn't you're not third generation racer. What? And that's okay, by the way. Like I think it's almost refreshing that you're kind of like, hey, I'm gonna show up on Saturday and use the right foot and go get at it. So
Gotta gas
I'm
it
okay
up.
with that. What you seem like a pretty busy guy with the schedule with work, family business, doing whatever, but you also have a little bit of freedom. Any other hobbies? What do you like to do? What do you like to non-racing related?
Man, I like to go hunting. My hobbies, we don't even find much time to do them anymore. But when I get the chance, like I said, I like to go hunting. We did that a little bit this year, maybe for a week. And I like to go fly fishing when I get the chance in the summer. That's usually like when I do, it's like Sunday and the sun is setting. But I do like fishing.
So where are your parents going on vacation?
They're going to go on a cruise. They're going on a Carnival cruise. I couldn't tell you what islands they're going to though.
That's okay. They're going south where it's warm, right?
Yeah, and I think my mom and dad, I think are going to watch one race of Volusia. I think when the Outlaws are there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want to go.
So I'm thinking about going down for 2 nights, but I'll see.
That'd be pretty cool.
So there's a guy I know down there that's working on Sam Haferteep's crew. And I asked if I could go hang out, so I might go hang out. I'll see though, because I mean I don't know what the flight tickets are. You know, they're getting expensive. So
You're not wrong. So if you had to pick any vacation spot anywhere, where would you go?
this sounds crazy, but St. Kitts and Nevis.
One more time.
St. Kitts and Nevis.
What is that?
I mean, let me look it up on Google. I was there once, and it's
Oh.
absolutely beautiful. It's not owned by the United States.
Sounds about right.
So I thought it was one of those deals I thought I was going to die when I was there because one, it's not owned by the United States, and
And you want to go back. That sounds
like,
logical,
well,
Aaron.
if you get out of the resort area, you know, I mean, it's kind of like Mexico or something. But
Thought I was
yeah,
gonna
it's
die.
beautiful.
I'm going back.
It's in the Caribbean. It's a Caribbean island. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And you want to go back. So you kind of, the reason I asked that question, you talk about fly fishing and then parents going on a cruise. Are you an island warm weather guy or mountain fishing, hunting kind of like, sounds like a little bit of both maybe.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Man, now I don't know. I'll just take the warmth, man. I'll just take the beach.
Okay. That's fair. And honestly, it's January. So we're all thinking of, I think
Yeah.
warm vibes at this point. I think we're all kind of there, even though it's been, kind of mild this year. So give me one racer that you race around.
Mhm.
I want to. This is going to be two-parter.
Yep.
Someone you hate racing around, not for personal or
Is
whatever.
this a person that I hate racing?
A person you hate racing and a person you love racing around.
Oh man, I got to say their names too.
Well, it's not
no.
because you dislike them. It's just that they're hard to pass. It's they're They make our cars 3 times wider, and it's just hard to get around. Like a Ryan Newman, right? Like, man, I struggle getting around this person, or I can never finish ahead of them. And then somebody you just love racing with and against.
Man, neither of them are going to be in a bad way. Person I hate racing against because they're just fast and hard to get around. I guess Freddie Raymer. I think every driver would say that. Person I like racing against, I don't know. Man, that's a tough question. I'd say like someone like Troy Wagaman Jr. or something. I mean, he's really clean. So
yeah, I think the Freddie thing is like he's has that aggressiveness, and for the most part can kind of like make it work. So I'd imagine it's hard to get by him because he's going to fight you for every inch of it, and then you may not see him coming, and he's just there at times where you don't expect it to be. Maybe
don't get that wrong. I said that. I mean, me and little Freddie had a spurt once, but great kid. So I'll just put that out there right now. Freddie's a good kid. So
yeah.
But I do
have you ever been in a fight on the track?
No.
Hey man, there's a first for everything. Listen, I'm there with you, my guy. Hey, I appreciate it. Chris, any questions before we get him out of here?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered a lot of them. I got all the stuff that I would usually ask covered.
Chris just sits here and listens. He gets to learn. He's following along.
This is probably like the smoothest interview I've been in, so it was fun.
Right. Usually I have like Jimmy to kind of feed off of, but I'm doing both jobs tonight, so I'm like watching stuff. But yeah, you did. It was great.
No, man, we appreciate it. We're kind of new at this, so we're kind of getting going, and we want to bring in, it's easy to say, hey, yeah, we wouldn't interview all the top guys in the sport, but they get interviewed all the time. They get asked for these things all the time.
Yeah, I feel like you almost need to interview like I don't know, just anybody.
You guys are supporting you guys are supporting these tracks. I mean, guys like the guys that we've talked to so far. I mean, you think about the guys, the crew and the time and the races you show up and the pit gate money and the time invested, that you guys could use all the support you can get, whether that's people, that's help, that's the dollars, the funding. That's who we want to have that story out there for, because who knows who might watch. I mean, hopefully we're getting people to watch this thing that can help you guys and be like, man, that's a good kid. He could use some help. That's kind of what we want.
Sponsor.
Right. We would get a Thrustmaster sponsor, give him a new wheel.
And I think that the cool part from us, and I hope it kind of goes out to everybody else too, like, I don't really know much about you and learn a lot from this and Jay-Z with Michael Walter. But before that, we keep learning stuff, and it makes it really cool for us to do and kind of put that out there for everybody else to maybe learn something too. Whoever was back and listens to it, I know Michael Walter said that he actually listened to the Jordan Givler interview and learned so much about him. So it's really cool to hear that stuff, and for us to be here asking these seemingly bizarre questions that are apparently hard, but so it's what we're interested in. So
yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks some sponsors. Who helps you get up and down the road? I know there's some more names than other than Bollinger on that car. So who helps you out? Thank the parents too. I get it. Thank them. And who else helps you out?
Yes, I'll try and get everyone. There's some small people left and right that we know that help us out a little bit, just here or there, pit passes. But yeah, Bollinger Septic Services, man, my parents, I wouldn't be able to do this without them. Nasty Nate Racing, you guys probably know Nate from the races. Don Livingston Lawn Care, great guy. Gonna go out to eat with him here pretty soon. Oh man, Nationwide McIntyre, Jared McEwen Construction, JP Mascaro and Sons, Steve Weil, if you watch this, thank you for everything you've done for me. Man, Phoenix Industrial Complex. I think that's about it, man. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, and that they see us, they're going to be upset. But
well, just remember who they were when you're in Victory Lane this year. Make sure you thank them. Whoever you missed, say, hey, we did an interview with Turn 2 Terribles in January, and I missed these guys. So just shout all those sponsors out, but Turn 2 Terribles too.
Bring you back after that win, so you can make sure you get them on next time.
And we'll bring all the beers.
All the beers.
Chris, do you go to Lincoln or not? I don't think I've ever met you there.
Yeah, I don't get to the pits as much as Jeremy. That's something that we're working on for this year. I go to Waiters Grove every Friday, so I think I went to Lincoln a handful of times, more so the back half of the year, and I didn't really have a place in the pits, so I kind of stay away until the cars are done. This year, though, with this and where we're going with it, we're going to definitely be in there more. I'll be sure to come down and find you.
Yep. So you two hanging out at the racetrack. That's how you started the podcast.
Right. And our other buddy, Jimmy.
Chris and Jimmy were kind of knew each other before I got to know them, and I met them through iRacing, through the Posse League, the iRacing PA Posse League, and met them, got those guys. And George, who's the admin of that deal, I think, what was the bet? Wasn't there a
Right.
speed?
So I actually met Jimmy first time at the Outlaw Show, and the only reason Jeremy came to find us is because I owed him $20 for a Speed Week poll that he won, and then we kind of just kept racing, iRacing and stuff, and then last summer or last spring we kind of started this thing, and Jeremy stepped in a few times to help when we were in a pinch, and now we've kind of transitioned to a whole new thing that we're still learning and building off of.
Right. Yeah. Don't give up with it. Keep going with it. You can grow it and stream on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, it's been a good time, and we put up these. You're actually live on YouTube right now. You're live on YouTube and Facebook, and then we restream these. We put them up in like split. We'll do just your interview, and we'll separate his, and we'll get them up on all the podcast platforms. So you'll be able to have yours just separate, both from video platforms and just audio. So it's been fun, and honestly, I had no idea that this was something that I could, one, be good at, or two, be interested in. And it's been so much fun, and honestly, like getting to know you guys this past season in the pits. Like I listen, man, like I'm 40 years old. I'm an old guy at this point, but I look at you as a hero to me. Like, man, these guys get to drive freaking race cars on weekends. Like, I'm just a fan of the sport, and like wasn't ever even the photography thing. Like Kyle Keene pushed me to that. Like I did iRacing pictures. Like I'm not talented. I don't know what I'm doing, but like he's like, man, I think you could have a good eye for this thing, and he's the one that kind of pushed me into the photography thing. And I went to, I don't know, I told these guys, me 30 or 40 races last year. I bought a pit pass in every single one of them. And that's just to kind of walk around, say hi, man, like, hey, check this picture out, man. You might like this thing, in time trials, see what your car is doing. Like, I'm not interested in selling the things. I want you guys to see them so you enjoy them, and you get to see what your car is doing. And I think I heard that more feedback up and down the pits of like, hey, man, check this out.
It helps because like that picture you put up as a preview before I came on, to me, that's a picture of a bad handling race car. The picture you put up on there. Yep.
That's a bad handling race car?
Yeah. To me, the stature's just off. Yep.
Like, and that's hot laps. That's definitely a hot lap picture. To me, like those pictures I never know what I'm looking at, especially in hot laps, because it's slimy, it's greasy. It's also could be fast, but I don't know. I'm glad you see that because I don't. I think that looks pretty badass to me. It doesn't look overly out sideways.
No,
Doesn't look tight.
What we're learning though, Jeremy, is everything that you like in your pictures is terrible for going fast.
Hey, but if they learn something, that's all that matters. Like these guys. Like I want to ask you a question, Aaron. Actually, I noticed your car more often than not. You like the wing down, forward, and not flat per se, but height down. Is that something that you've taken notice to, that yours, like I see that more often than not than your car than a lot of other cars? Is that something you've just been, I don't know. I think I see more diversity. Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. I think a lot of that actually is because the top wing posts that I run, I don't cut. A lot of guys cut them, shorten them out to try and, you're saying my top wing's probably a little higher than most is what you're saying?
No, I think it feels like it's down, and it might be an optical illusion. I feel like it's down closer to the body than a lot of cars where I see, even in hot laps, sometimes they're up a little bit. Like I can see more of the driver, and it could be an optical illusion, but I feel like yours is always kind of like down on top of you.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't know. Cause like I kind of want to, a lot of guys I know trim their top post a little bit, kind of gets the wing down, the top wing down a little bit, but yeah, I don't know.
And we're gonna have to do some measuring. I'm bringing tape measure to the pits this year. I'm gonna find out.
Take
more pictures. That's the only solution I got. So no, man.
A lot of that could be the Titan wings. Maybe it's a different wing than some guys, and one side droops lower than some guys building them. I don't know.
Awesome. Oh, well, we're gonna find that out this year. Chris. That's your project for the year, is to figure out why it looks like it's down lower when it might not be.
All right, I'll make sure to do that. Easy enough.
Hey, like if you look at Kreitz's car.
No, don't look at that. That is that's an anomaly. Nothing on that makes any sense. Okay, in comparing to.
But his top wing is definitely different than everybody else.
Yes,
100%. In every way.
Half the time it looks like it's up in the air, facing the wrong direction. Like I don't.
But it goes, man. That
goes
thing,
fast
they
as
know
hell.
what they're doing.
Yeah. Anyway, awesome, Aaron. Thanks, dude. Appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you. Hopefully on iRacing, maybe if not, sometime this spring.
Yeah, I gotta get a new wheel here. So.
All right, thank you, Aaron. I'll meet you hopefully here soon.
Yeah, stop by, say hi. Good interview, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks. Take care.
All right, JV.
Chris, did you have any fun there, bud? That was cool.
Yeah, that was tons of fun. Tons of fun. Good
Right.
stories. I think it was Mike Walters. Really cool stories. Aaron, got to learn a lot. Someone kind of like the opposite of you, didn't know anything about him coming into this. So that was really cool. Really cool.
I realized I knew less about Aaron than I thought I did, for sure. And, you know, I think very different ways of going about it. I mean, I think we've seen that, not comparing guests, but that's all we have. But
Right.
I think it's been very different paths with, you know, Mike's family very involved in racing. Aaron's was kind of like, well, not really, but that's kind of cool.
Right.
Which
It's unique because that's one of the first guys we've talked to that didn't grow up around race cars and racing per se. Everyone else we've talked to has kind of grown up in the business and things like that. So it was really a unique perspective from almost like an outsider that became an insider.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to seeing both those guys this year, no matter where they end up. And, you know, the more time goes on, the more I guess I got to get Sealands Grove this year. I guess that's going to have to happen. So I'm going to have to be traveling north a little bit more this year for myself. So, hey, man, everybody listen in, subscribe, follow along, shout us out on who you want to see on the show. We're always open to suggestions. We are going to have a banger next week, and I feel like every week is like just builds on each other, and that might make Kyle and Brett feel crappy because episode 1 with them was like the one. But when I say it gets better each week, they're going to feel like really low in the totem pole. So I guess we'll have to have them come back and talk about Kyle Keene. His debuted his paint scheme today. Put that out on social media. So if y'all haven't seen that, Kyle Keene Motorsports, go check out his new scheme. If you are a historian of the sport, or you like anything about the history of the Keene Motorsports 17, you're going to want to go see that thing.
Yeah,
so check that out.
A sweet looking piece. Can't wait to see it on the track this year. What else? Any closing thoughts? Thursday?
No, man. Good to go.
Thursday we'll release the next guest.
Oh, Thursday, Friday, something like that.
Something like that. Check out the socials.
Yeah. That's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a real good time.
Looking forward to it. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, shout out Jimmy. Thinking of you, buddy. Look forward to seeing you back next week.
Sure. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Take care.